All right, ladies and gentlemen, we begin a new chapter here, chapter 12, dealing with statistics. You'll notice that this chapter is broken up basically into 3 segments: lessons 1 and 2, then a quiz, 3 through 7, then a quiz, and then the final parts of the chapter. So let's go ahead and get right into chapter 12:1. We're going to review the measures of central tendency. And you will recall from previous experiences, the measures of central tendencies are the things that get us like averages, give us an idea of what the set of data is doing in general. And so let's start with some of the review terms. The first one being mean, that being average. Okay, that's the other word for the statistical word for average is mean, and so that's what we'll deal with here. But to take an average, we will divide the sum of the set of numbers by the number of items in the set, and we'll do some examples of this in a second. And then we get to the median. The median is the middle value of a data set when it's arranged in order. So the important part here is we do have to arrange the set in order. If there are 2 middle numbers, we have to find the middle of the middle. Get to the mode. The mode is the value or values that occur the most often in a data set. Now there could be multiple modes. Okay, so if we have 2 or 3 or 4 numbers that occur more often than the other numbers in the set, we may have numerous modes. Now, it is possible also to not have a mode at all. And that's what the second part is. When all of the data occurs the same number of times, there is no mode. So for example, if we had a set that went 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, none of the numbers happen more often than the other numbers, and in that case there would be no mode. And then we get into the range, and the range is simply the difference between the greatest and the least values in the data set. So let's go ahead and let us do some examples dealing with these 4 concepts. So find the mean, median, mode, and range of the data set. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll start with the mean. The mean is the average of the set. So if I go through this and I add all of these numbers together, 35, 70, 90, 95, 120, 140. So I just added all those together. Sum of 140. Okay. I take that and divide by the number of numbers in the set. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in the set. So 140 divided by 7 in this particular case is 20. So my mean, my average, is 20. Again, so add up all the numbers in the set, divide by the number of numbers in the set. Okay, then we get to the median. And the median is the middle number in the set when these are arranged. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to arrange them. So I see a couple 5s. Those are my smallest numbers, so I'm going to list those. And I'm going to mark them off as I go along. Then I get, excuse me, to 20 and 20. So I'll write both of those down. Okay, 20 and 20. And then 25. And 30 and 35. Okay, so I now have them all arranged in order from smallest to largest. Now the median is the middle number. I have again 7 numbers in the set. So in this particular case, that will be the 4th one from each end. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So in this particular case, the median would be right here. That's 20. Now again, if we had 2 middle numbers, we would have to find the middle of those 2 middle numbers. The mode is the number that happens the most often. In this particular case, we have 2 of them. We have 5 because it happens twice. We have 20 because it happens twice. And those 2 numbers happen more often than any of the other numbers. Then we have the range. The range is the largest, which in this case is 35, minus the smallest, which is 5. 35 minus 5. So we have a set that has a range of 30. Okay, so that's a basic, quick, simple example. We'll do some more. The line plot shows the number of hours 14 people exercised in 1 week. Okay, so we have, in this particular case, we have a number line, and each X represents a person and the number of hours they exercise. So in this particular case, I have one person who did not exercise at all. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 people who exercised for an hour. I have 3 people who exercised for 2 hours, and so on. So my job here is to go ahead, find the mean, median, mode, and range of this information. All right. So I'm going to go ahead right now, and I'm going to list these values out. You don't have to. Some people can do the addition here without listing all of the values out, but I'm going to go ahead and do it because we're then going to have them in order for the people who like to write them out to do their median. Okay, so there's my 2's. I've got 2 3's. Talking and writing at the same time. I've got a 5. I've got 2 7's. And I've got a 14. Okay. So in this particular case, I'm actually going to go ahead. I'll come back to mean. I'm going to start with mode. In this particular case, the mode is obviously 1. It happens more often than everything else. Okay. It happens 4 times. 2 is close. It happens 3 times. But the range, I'll go ahead and do that. That is the biggest, 14, minus the smallest, which is 0. 14 minus 0 and 14 is 14, so I have a range of 14. The median, all right, I have 14 people. Halfway is 7, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So here's 1, and then if I come back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this particular case, I have 2 middle numbers. Now, in this particular instance, the middle of 2 and 2 is just 2. But in other cases, I might have to find the midway point between them. Okay. For example, if it were 2 and 3, well, in that case, I would have obviously 2.5 would be the middle. So now the mean. Let me go ahead and add these together, and I'm actually going to go backwards. Just I'm going to start with a big number. 14 plus 7 is 21, plus 7 is 28, plus 5 is 33, 36, 39. 41, 43, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 49. So I have a sum of 49 divided by 14 people. Okay. So now 49 divided by 14 is 3.5, 3.5. So the average in this particular case, the mean, is 3.5. Okay, awesome. So now, you'll notice this, and this is the same data from the previous slide. So this is the hours exercised by 14 people. And again, my data, I had 3.5 for a mean, median of 2, mode of 1. We had a range of 14, but in this particular case, we're not going to need the range. Which measure of central tendency best describes the set? Okay. So my job at this particular point is to choose one of these 3 numbers that, in my estimation, best describes all of them, or the whole set as a total. Okay. Now, 3.5 would fall right about here. Okay, right there in the middle would be about 3.5. 2 obviously falls right here, and 1 falls right here. Okay, so I need to pick the number that best describes the set. And in my mind, when I do that, I try to find the number that to me falls closest to the middle of the chunk of material. And in this particular case, I look at this and I go, I look at that block and I go, okay, what is the number closest to the middle of that? In this particular case, I'm going to go with the mean, because to me, it is the best representative of all of the data. Now you'll notice, you'll say, what about this one out here? We're going to talk about outliers in just a second. But in my particular case, I think the mean is the best solution, because it's the one that falls nearest the middle of most of the things. But if you wanted to go with 2, I think you can make a very good case with 2, because it also is very close to the middle. Okay? But to me, in this particular case, the mean of 3.5 is the number that best describes the bulk of the data. Now I mentioned outlier, so let's go ahead and talk about outlier right now. An outlier is a value that is much greater or much less than the others in a data set. So in this particular case, obviously 14 down here is the outlier. Okay, it is the thing. It is way away from all of the other items. Now, some people might try to say 7 is relatively close to 5 and so on. These numbers here pretty much all fit together. It's just 14. That is some person who really went after it in a week. And so this person is not really representative of the people in general. That's why we call them an outlier. But the thing we have to understand is whether we include an outlier or we don't include an outlier can make a difference to our information. So here's the information that we found already. Again, this is the same information for the people that are part of the exercising group here and their hours of exercise. Now we're going to redo this information, and but in this case we're going to do it, and we're going to exclude the outlier, which means instead of 14 people, we'll have 13. Okay, so again, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. I could go back to my previous list, but I'd have to flip slides. 2, 2, 2, 3, 3, 5, 7, 7. So if I go, okay, so I'm going to add them up, do my mean. 14, 19, 22, 25, 27, 29, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35. So 35 is my total. So when I take my mean, in this case it'll be 35 divided by 13, which, and I'm rounding this off to 2.7. So you'll notice by taking that outlier out of the problem, I have significantly dropped the average number of hours worked out by an individual. Okay, the median, now we have 13, which is still going to be the 7th person in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So in this case, my median is 2. So it did not affect the median by throwing out the outlier. The mode is still 1. Okay, so in this particular case, the mode didn't change. The range, though, changes significantly because now 7 minus 0, we have just cut the range in half. The range is now only 7. So whether we include an outlier or we don't include an outlier can be important, okay? Because to be honest with you, if we want to get, again, into the most representative parts of a set, we may not want to include an outlier type of a person because that individual skews the data, okay? And even though they're part of the set, they don't at all times give us a true representation of the bulk of the set. So in this particular case, if you want a true representation, you probably are going to focus more on the people who are in the group, you know, bunched together as opposed to the outlier. All right, so your turn to do some practice with means, median, modes, ranges, outliers, and so on, and data sets. So good luck.